Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. Is It Legal focuses on the legal issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices in Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
Tom, you and I sort of seem like Chicken Little. The sky's going to fall in for the last several years, warning people that these gimmicky VA strategies that they were using to sort of game the system to get qualification were going to be extinct. They are now extinct.
Absolutely. And so after October 18th, the VA has implemented a new regime of rules that are going to attempt to stamp out the techniques and strategies people were engaging in prior.
And the strategies they were engaging in, oftentimes being abetted by these supported VA bureaus, which was really a methodology in which somebody could get paid a commission and get paid a fee. Now, you and I, when we assist people in aid and attendance, we're not allowed to direct charge, and we've just taken the position that we're going to support our veterans by providing them assistance. We actually have to be licensed for it, even though we don't get paid to help them do it.
Exactly. They've got some rigid rules to make sure people aren't taking advantage of vets, and for the most part, people are usually within driving distance of a local office for the VA who can help and assist people through that process.
And in particular offenders, we found assisted living facilities with these brochures out there, contact these people. These are for-profit organizations, and so if they can't charge a direct fee, just as we could not charge a direct fee, and yet they're in business, somewhere they're getting paid.
Yeah, you'd often see sort of a sales pitch for annuity products and other things that were not necessary in order to qualify.
And one of the challenges with the product sales that went with it is most of those product sales would have been a disaster in a Medicaid case if a year and a half later the person ended up in a nursing home.
And that's a good point, because all of these folks just have no concept of the VA or the Medicaid rules, and so they're focusing exclusively on the VA, and it's tripping people up as they progress through the system.
And there was this perception that if it was okay for the VA, it must be okay for Medicaid, which is absolutely not true.
Well, that's a good point, because they are at total ends, especially in the area of gifting and transfers and all this other stuff. And so now there is something of a move towards unifying the rules.
And that was a big problem with aid and attendance, because in fact there were no strict regulations, there were no specific rules on the assets that a person could retain, and as a result of which you would see one particular person might give more lenient awards of benefits, other people more restrictive, and because there were no specific regulations, you really didn't have a basis for it appealing that saying you had violated one thing or another, because they were not documented.
Exactly. They were given a lot of discretion, and so that leads to a lot of abuse. And of course, people were mystified by the length of time it took to get approved or why they were being denied.
And so what we would oftentimes see is a person might have $200,000 in liquid assets. The house didn't count, cars didn't count, and there was sort of this rule on $80,000, which tended to be fairly consistent, although not in the regulations, that the person would then transfer $120,000 to their kids, make an application for aid and attendance, and they would be allowed that because there was no problem with making gifts to the children. The problem was, the assumption was, is that gift to the children wasn't a problem for VA, therefore it wouldn't be a problem for Medicaid.
Well, exactly. And so oftentimes that worked great if the parent or whomever made the gift doesn't then go to a nursing home. But once they did, if the money's been tied up in some way, now there are Medicaid penalties.
And the Medicaid penalties were imposed even though it was okay for VA purposes. It was not okay for Medicaid.
And that's what really does frustrate families, because they would think it's a simplified set of rules, one rule book, but instead there's many, many rule books.
And the problem with the product sale is oftentimes they would take that $120,000 and they would tell them in essence that the product sale was an essential part of the VA. They would sell them that product, large commission having been generated, and in the meantime they couldn't get the money back when they realized they had fouled up the Medicaid case. When you look at assisted living, that bill is half the bill of a nursing home, and so you have totally made a problem for yourself.
Well, exactly. And so, you know, normally you would be able to fix some things, cure some things, but if you've given 120, but after penalties and everything, you can only give back 100, now we've got a couple month penalty.
And the interesting thing about this is that the VA had proposed rules for some time. We knew these rules changes were coming. We alerted clients that the rules changes were coming, and people almost took the position, well, you're just not aggressive enough. We know that we can do this, and there's going to be a whole truckload of people caught in a trap by having engaged in these strategies when it was obvious the rules change was coming.
Right, and so all those applications that are out there pending or will be, are going to get rejected, and then there are going to be penalties going well into the future that we'll have to fix.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the show.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Douglas A. Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lough to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to a special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. My guest today is Bernadette Wagner, who has been on this show in a lot of different capacities, and her most recent one now is Prime Time for Women. Welcome to the show, Bernadette.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me about Prime Time for Women.
So Prime Time for Women is a social enterprise that will celebrate, educate, and connect and empower women from diverse backgrounds during the second half of life as they explore new possibilities. So the idea is based on research, actually, that women, not just women, but all people have received incredible health benefits from social interactions, and there's also really some serious risks from social isolation. So folks who are isolated actually have the same risk as folks who smoke 15 cigarettes a day, but those with strong social connections, they have a better immune system, less chances of depression and diabetes. So we're looking to bring women together with some creative programming.
You know, and earlier in their lives, many times socialization was forced on them, whether it be Little League or dance class or that sort of thing. But as they become empty nesters, many times they have to start figuring out how they're going to adjust the balance of their lives and really to get engaged.
That's true, and I think that from my positions doing outreach for hospice and also with Volunteer Washington County, traveling the county, it became crystal clear to me that women they don't only just need this, they desire it. They're craving that kind of interaction. But how do you go about that, especially if you've lost a spouse or if your children have left the house? But one of the things that we're going to be doing that I'm really excited about is featuring women entrepreneurs. In our country, the average age of women starting business is 40, and so this will be an opportunity for these women to share their business ideas with other women and have the chance to be supported in kind. It's interesting that reciprocity is one of the things that makes for good social, healthy interactions. There's a couple things: participatory, informative, reciprocal, meaning that you're both a confidant and a confessor, and this idea of what social scientists call cohesion, this belief that feeling like you belong to somebody, belong to a group larger than yourself, is one of the things that's most protective for women.
And of course, frankly, just being scheduled to get out of the house is going to force you to socially interact. Nothing wrong with that.
That's right, that's right. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And one of the other aspects of this that we're excited about is the TV show that we're going to be hosting in partnership with Antietam Broadband and the Women's Club. Antietam will produce the show at the Women's Club, their beautiful historic building, one Saturday a month. Lots of interesting guest speakers. Women will have an opportunity to interact with each other, question our guest presenters, and also take audience surveys, share their thoughts and stories, give them a chance to have their voice heard. And I think that that's really good for women. They're going to cover an interesting array of topics. And one of the things we're really excited about is this partnership with the downtown business community. We will, with restaurants and businesses that partner with us, we'll give the women at the end of the taping at Saturday morning discount coupons to go enjoy a meal at a restaurant or shop. As they're further making their connections, they're also strengthening the local economy, and that's just a great idea.
But they don't have to be an entrepreneur to participate.
Oh, no, no, we want everybody. We want everybody. The show is going to be for women and about women in the prime of life. And so we just think that's great. We also have partnered with a couple nonprofits. They can sell tickets to the show and recoup 10% of the ticket sales. And at the show, to encourage women to participate in large numbers with groups of women, because that's good for them. Each show, we will say, we'll find out who's representing the largest group. So if you have a group from the Commission on Aging, and there's 50 women from the Commission on Aging, and that's the largest group there, that group of women will get to decide which nonprofit will receive 10% of all ticket sales, so they can direct it to any nonprofit of their choice.
All right, so how can a person find out more about it?
Well, we're going to be launching a media campaign right now. This is the first time we've gotten to talk about it publicly, so your audience is in the know. And we'll be we will have an in-depth website, primetimeforwomen.com, and we'll be doing some PR media releases in the near future.
And so while this program, your TV program, is going to be on the local cable channel here, it doesn't cross state lines. It does not keep people from not in that broadcasting area to come to hear you anyway.
Well, we hope that they come to the show and participate in the show, but also it will be archived on YouTube. So if folks can't watch the show on the station, and who knows, maybe we'll be here one day too.
Bernadette, once again, how can they find out more?
So at this point in time, they can contact me at 240-313-5985, and we'll be getting our website up and running in the near future.
Sounds like great fun, Bernadette.
Yep, I think it will be. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thank you. More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquillity at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquillity, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquillity at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
All right, let's get this show on the road. Ma'am, give me a good push.
Hang on, just 1 minute.
Ma'am, I need you to push right now.
Honey, you really need to push.
It's time.
Just hold on a minute.
No, right now, one push, ma'am, one push.
Just one more bid on HurleyAuctions.com.
If you haven't visited HurleyAuctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at HurleyAuctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Bridget Keefe, Marketing Director, Tranquillity of Fredericktown. Welcome to the show, Bridget.
Thank you, Mike.
You know, we deal a lot, and you and I do some public presentations, and we talk about the misconceptions involving the levels of care that assisted living can provide. And so one of the things that we've seen is the federal government is trying to get out of the nursing home business. They cannot get out of the nursing home business by putting the sickest of the sick out. What they're doing is trying to cut that population by expanding the service model of assisted living right underneath nursing homes.
Right, that's correct. And again, you know, people are keeping their loved ones home longer, but they do need to recognize when they start their search, nobody really knows what an assisted living does. And you know, if I had a nickel for every time someone comes in to see me and says, this is a nursing home, I could retire. So yeah, they've expanded, but it's still unclear.
Well, one of the great challenges here is that, you know, people could make statements about assisted living even as recently as 5 years ago that might have been correct then, but they are not correct now. So let's deal with some common misconceptions. One of the problems that we have with the care delivery systems, people are being discharged from hospitals who are very sick, and then they're being discharged from rehab while they're still very sick. And so what's happened is assisted livings have been allowed expanded service models that can allow them to take on that person, which they might have not been able to do 5 years ago. So let's talk a bit, how about physical, occupational, or speech therapy?
We have a program right on site, and it's 100% covered by Medicare Part A, which is wonderful for our residents. And they offer a step down from hospital therapy, but still pretty good intense therapy.
And what we want to recognize here is that Medicare is going to pay room and board in the hospital, provided you stay eligible. We'll pay some room and board in rehab, provided you stay eligible. Not going to pay for custody or long-term care in a nursing home. It's not going to pay your room and board bill, but we'll pay all the medical services associated with the person being in your facility.
Correct, and we do offer a wide variety. So the podiatrist, our geriatrician therapy, and psychogeriatric services are all covered by Medicare.
And so oftentimes we'll see that situation where the person might be discharged from the hospital, they may find themselves in rehab, and then, you know, they're having to go home. They're being discharged out of rehab. They don't have no immediate support in a sense, not to say they don't have family members that don't care about them, but they have jobs and so forth. They're not going to be safe in their own home. And so that person might end up in your facility, continue to receive that rehab for a period of time, and then a decision made where they will end up.
Correct. And the great thing is we have 24-hour care, so families can live their lives knowing that their loved ones are being cared for around the clock.
And that's one of the great challenges when you're trying to do in-home care. Oftentimes you're trying to do 8 hours a day, but that person's alive 24 hours a day, and the question is which 8 hours do they need support? And oftentimes you see people providing overkill because the person only needs 5 or 6 hours, but you don't know which 5 or 6.
Right, and there's a price differential too for overnight care. It's more expensive. So, you have the same caregiver and the same nurse and the same med techs 24/7.
Well, there isn't any my car broke down or my kid got sick or anything else as well. And one of the other challenges that we have here is when you start using that level of care in the home, 16 hours, 24 hours, it's significantly more expensive, even if you're using friends, neighbors, and relatives than an assisted living facility would be.
Absolutely. That's very true. It's a good point. And plus, you're kind of imprisoned in your house.
And oftentimes we find that many of the times that people are doing caregiving have no specific medical treatment skill set. They are not qualified necessarily to administer medications or assist people in various activities of daily living, and as a result of which the care is not great.
That's true, and you hit on a good point. The medication management is a huge part of what we do because, elderly people are on meds and they need their medications administered on time and daily. And if you have a caregiver in your home that's not licensed to do that, kind of what's the point?
We also find that they don't appropriately eat or keep themselves hydrated, and that's part of your role, is to make sure they are receiving that, and in fact making sure they're getting their meals and eating them.
Absolutely. Everybody goes to the dining room and gets 3 meals a day, well-balanced meals.
And they get to pick.
They do get to pick, that's right, and sometimes they even go out, so yeah.
Well, Bridget, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thank you, Mike.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
The Community Foundation, through its scholarship programs and through its strategic grants, has been a positive influence for change.
Last year, change in Frederick County was influenced thanks to nearly 1,800 caring donors. Everyone can help. Your influence is key.
Help us proactively focus on where we need to be investing our energy in the future.
Albright, Crumbacher, Mal & Eitel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various financial issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is Ed Lough, Northwestern Mutual. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Thank you, Mike.
Ed, when you and I started working in the business in the Stone Ages in the 70s, when we looked at life insurance products, there were really only 2 types of products out there. What were they?
We had a whole life policy, which was a permanent plan that lasted your lifetime, and you had a term policy, which lasted X number of years.
And so if you perhaps had a very specific need, you want to insure your mortgage during the time that the mortgage was out, or to make sure there was sufficient insurance proceeds to pay for a kid's college education in the event that you had an untimely death, but you did not foresee a permanent need, then you bought a term policy.
You would, and it was also used in the business world. If a business owner needed a loan and the bank gave them money, they would want protection for that money in case of an early death, and so you would use a term policy.
And the insurance companies, being excellent calculators of probability, understood that that policy had virtually no chance of actually paying, and therefore it was cheap.
Very cheap, and unless you had a very early untimely death, it would not pay. In fact, annually, 3% of death claims are paid from term policies. The other 90% of death claims are paid from permanent whole life contracts.
Now, on the other hand, a whole life product, when we were looking at the 70s, was very simple. You paid a higher premium, but that policy was going to last your lifetime, and upon your death, it was going to pay out the death benefit. And depending on the style of company you had, there might have been additional benefits specifically related to mutual companies. What the heck does that mean?
Well, with a mutual company, you would earn dividends on that life insurance contract. Those dividends could be used for 2 purposes. One, to increase the death benefit over time, and secondly, to also build cash in the policy.
And the fact is that a stock company, which is frankly the vast majority of companies that we see today, the excess profits go to the shareholders. But in a mutual company, the excess profits go to the policyholders.
They do. In fact, in a mutual company, the policyholders are actually policy owners, and so they receive those dividends.
And of course, we have a whole bunch of our people that we deal with today that own life insurance policies that were originally issued by mutual companies, but they've converted to stock. Those people don't need to worry because their policy is still treated as if it were a mutual. But buying the same policy from the same company today would not result in as favorable a product as the one that was bought 30 or 40 years ago.
Well, that's correct, because now they're not an owner, they're a holder, and so those dividends, they're not receiving those at all.
And part of what we have here is now a whole bunch of mishmashing of these policies. We see most of the stock companies today are very focused on selling universal flexible premium life policies, which in my estimation shift a lot of the risk to the policyholder, as opposed to the original intent was that the insurance company was taking the risk.
Well, that's correct. And those policies, I guess, when they came out in the mid-'80s, I think for the first time, when they came out, they had a very high interest rate. That high interest rate is not there today.
And so it was designed that people thought they wanted to participate in the investment return of the life insurance. They were afraid the company was making too much money. But in reality, they were charging fees to manage the money, and a bunch of them got sued over these things because, in fact, they were not going to produce the types of returns that it took for that policy to survive out until the person died.
Yeah, it was a twofold problem. Of course, as we spoke earlier, the interest rates were lower, and the internal cost of the life insurance inside annually increases as you get each year older.
And so most of the people that I see that come through my office today at age 70, 80 years old, have a universal life flexible premium policy. That policy will actually implode before they die. And when it implodes before they die, there is no death benefit.
There's no death benefit, so they've paid those premiums all of those years and they end up with nothing. And that's not the way a whole life contract was to be designed.
And so we tell people every day, if you have one of those policies, it could end up being a glorified, very expensive term policy, whereas if you'd have bought a permanent policy appropriately funded, that policy would last your lifetime.
It would last your lifetime. And of course, one of the keys is when you get your statements on one of those type of policies, Mike, you really need to pay attention to see if your cash value has started to go backwards.
Meaning it's going down.
It's going down, yes.
If it's going down, that's a red flag. And the reality is, though, when you get a bill on a Northwestern whole life product, even if it's some sort of a blend, which is an additional layer of complexity, what you're going to see is that cash value is going up every year. Many times the death benefit is going up every year, and that policy has no risk of not paying.
That's correct. It doesn't, because the internal cost of the life insurance, the fee, if you will, the internal cost, is frozen at the age that you buy it.
Ed, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us, Wright Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.